1. I went to the bathroom while we were playing board games. When I came back, everyone laughed at all my moves. She had looked at my hand of clue cards. It made it really hard to trust her during the orgy that followed. Story 2. Boyfriend finally convinces me to have a threesome after months of begging. I finally agree and our mutual friend comes over. Things get hot and heavy when he starts effing her. He moans, "Damn, you feel even better than usual." Everyone freezes. He tries to tell me that he was thinking about my pee while effing her and that it just felt differently. But she felt so guilty that she confessed on the spot and begged me to forgive her. We don't really talk anymore, but last I heard, she had been dating my ex for over a year. Oofta, I'm sorry, that is so awkward and uncomfortable. I do have to say, if there are months of begging for a threesome, that might be a bit of a red flag. Story 3. We were engaged and he had a drinking problem. He was blacked out drunk, accidentally butt-dialed me, and I listened to the whole thing, only to find out after that it was with a prostitute. Didn't happen to me, but my closest friend growing up. He was making out with his girlfriend in the back of her car, which at the time she had only had for a week, and he put his hand on the back of the car somewhere between the back of the headrests and the rear windshield. I guess the opposite of a dashboard? Anyway, he put his hand in a semi-fresh load of jizz, and her answer was that her gum must have flew from her mouth and land back there, and the sun melted it into a jizz-like substance. I mean, maybe it was Big League Chew bubble gum. That stuff was kind of jizz consistency. Did your friend taste it? Because if it was grape-flavored, she is in the clear. Probably. Story 5. Not my relationship, but my boyfriend's mom took me out to lunch to get to know me better. We really kicked it off and had a great lunch. She had to run home because she forgot to grab a gift for a shower we had to attend after, and we found her husband ducking the neighbor on the couch. She was mortified and never the same around me again. Her son and I split because of that. He didn't think his dad was wrong because his mom gained weight, as in she was now 140, 5'6", and not 120, so I never found out what happened. Story 6. Okay, so my ex was having computer problems and wanted to go on Facebook on my phone. No problem, but I made her use Safari so I wouldn't have to log out of the app. Anyways, couple days later, I'm closing tabs on my phone and there is her Facebook still open. Well, I see she's chatting with her ex, John. Turns out they banged in our bed and we're gonna go out on a date soon. So in the messages, he asked she wearing something nice in the messages. I'm not the jealous type, so I'll leave it for a couple of days. Couple days goes by and she wants to do it. Well, we are kissing and getting hot and heavy. I whisper in her ear, "Don't forget, John wants you to wear something nice on your date Saturday." The look of horror in her eyes was magical. I put my shirt on and started walking out as she's crying and saying she's sorry. Look, the logical side of me wants to say, why don't you try communicating first, working things out, reflect inwardly about not just her, but yourself? But the other side of me kinda appreciates the devious execution of that particular mic drop. Story 7. Her phone went off and she asked me what it said. I looked at it and it said, "I want to bend you over and spank you." Story 8. Walked in on my girlfriend while she was doing it with another guy. "What are you doing here?" she says. "You gave me a key, remember? I ended up not working today and wanted to surprise you." 15 years later, she reaches out, leaves me a message that she'd like to talk. I figured she's doing some 12-step thing or something and wants to make amends. Nope. She wanted to try and sell me on anyway. Story 9. I caught the ex thanks to effing Pokemon Go of all things. She mentioned Pokemon Go was using lots of her data. I explained that in her settings she could see how much data on app was using. I proceeded to show her and prove to her it wasn't by pointing out Tinder was using much more data. It was sad but also funny the way it went down. I've posted this before, but it's still funny to remember. Story 10. Had been on the road for work. Was supposed to be 10 days, got to go home a day early. Had a friend pick me up at the airport to surprise my wife and 2 children, 2 years and 8 months. Walked in to my ex and her coffee friend snuggling on the couch with my kids in the same room. I was livid. Of course, she denied everything. We split up weeks later. Edit. Added years after 2 to avoid all the age questions. Look, I wasn't there, so I'm not judging. But I am going to say that we need to normalize friends cuddling. If Taika Waititi can do it, then why can't the rest of us? Story 11. Her phone got a text from her friend who was in the kitchen with her, so I assumed one of them sent it to me, opened her phone to see a D. Her friend doesn't have a D. Now I'm divorced and don't trust texts from friends. Story 12. One of my former coworkers loaded in an SD card with a scanned project file on it. He put it into the conference room PC we were treated to naked pics of his wife effing another guy. We were stunned. This was in a senior budgetary meeting with the outside accountants and auditors, and he was sitting right there and we were looking at his wife and another guy going at it. I reached over and shut the projector off. Nobody said anything. He got up and walked out and drove off in his car, left his phone and laptop sitting on the table. He wound up driving to his parents' house 3 states away. He was gone for a week. Story 13. One night she told me not to come over because she wasn't feeling well, but then my sister wanted this hoodie back that she'd borrowed. So I thought I'd stop over with chocolate and a Slurpee. I knocked on her door. She came to the upstairs window with only a blanket wrapped around her. I thought I told you not to come over. My sister needs her hoodie. Who's that? Says some male voice from her bedroom. Ah, I see how it is. I'll talk to you tomorrow, she says. Probably not. Have a good one. Story 14. I returned from work on Christmas Eve. We had tickets to a festival which started the day before Nye, and I couldn't find the tickets anywhere after seeing them the month before. I decided to double-check the trash before we put it out for collection. I found a used condom. We lived on our own. I'm sorry, but why are cheaters so careless? I guess if you're cheating, you aren't that smart to begin with, but come on, folks, don't leave evidence at the scene of the friggin' crime. Story 15. Came back from a trip 4 hours early. Wife was supposed to be at work still. Opened the front door to see her sitting topless on the couch making out with a coworker. He ran out the door, she ran into the bathroom and locked the door. Sat on that couch for about an hour because I couldn't think what else to do. Finally just up and left so she could come out of the bathroom and put her shirt on. Story 16. Dating this girl a few years back, and I became really good friends with her brother just because he appreciated my help during a difficult time for their family. Their father had abruptly passed away. 2 years into the relationship, the brother contacts me and asks to meet up for coffee and a serious conversation. Apparently, he caught his own sister with another guy, mutual friend of ours, and that crap had been going on for like a year. As soon as he found out, I was told. Broke up with her. Still friends with her brother. Go figure. Edit. If I was gay, I'd date him. Everyone happy? Ha ha. Thanks for all the love. Story 17. 2 weeks ago, I sent a message to a mutual friend asking to borrow a router. He didn't answer, but no worries, he lives nearby. I'll just stop by and grab it. I pull up to his house and start heading down the driveway. He has a long country driveway, so it's a few seconds before I see my car. I drive a company vehicle during the day. Already there. My heart began to sink, but they are friends and business partners. Maybe it's nothing. I got out of my van and look up to see the other guy shirtless in his bedroom. At this point, my heart is down on my stomach and I am visibly shaking. I go in and immediately head upstairs. He is alone, now clothed. I say, I came to borrow the router. Have you seen my wife? The car is here. He then proceeds to give the worst improv I've ever heard. Huh? No, she was here at some point, though. Whatever, I knew she was there, I just wanted him to admit it. I go down, take the router, and head back to the van where I finally encounter my wife topless trying to sneak around the side of his house. And now here I am. Edit. To all those wondering, I kept the router. Edit 2. It's a plunge router for woodworking. Honestly, I am kind of glad for that second edit. For some reason, the idea that it was an internet router was bugging me for some reason. Also, I'm really kind of jealous because I want to get a plunge router for my projects. Story 18. Not me, my dad. He told me the story a few years back. So, some of my mom's family were visiting from out of town and they had planned a night at the bingo, which my dad couldn't attend because he was working 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. He finished work early and on his way home saw my babysitter on the street. You are not with Bassman 1976? No, your wife called me at around 8 p.m. saying she wasn't feeling well and that she would stay home. My dad drove home, tried the front door. Locked. No lights. He entered the house by the basement door, went up the stairs, heard them a few feet away. My mom and her cousin. 2 years later, he almost left her with me in tow but stayed so I could have a normal life. Most of the time I wish he'd left because he would have worked 90 to 100 a week to avoid being home and could have been happier. For those who are wondering, my mom had a long-time affair with her husband starting before she met my dad. She wasn't happy either, I think, but my dad was a good catch. Yes, I'm sure he is my dad. We look so much the same. Yes, they are still together, and after a year of being angry, I decided to let go because their relationship has nothing to do with me. Just sad for both of them. Story 19. Not me, but one of my best mates. His girlfriend snuck a guy into their one-bedroom apartment whilst he was playing Xbox in the living room. I heard the argument through the mic after he heard a noise coming from the bedroom. He kicked her out and continued playing with us. Edit. Alrighty, this certainly blew up. To the people saying my buddy deserved it because he is addicted to video games, I don't know where you got that from. He only plays when there is a bit of spare time. She is just a crap person. After he caught them in the act and kicked her out, he came back onto the mic to tell us what happened and to get off the game. We encouraged him to stay on and talk everything through with us. We were in different countries at the time and couldn't see him in person. Them because we were worried. The relationship had been a little rocky, but who would have guessed that someone would cheat, and especially in the next room? He is a great guy who did not deserve what happened to him. He is now in a healthy relationship with a wonderful lady. I love how people would assume the guy was addicted to video games or something through what was at that point a 3-sentence story. I feel like that isn't enough context to make judgments like that. Story 20. Things had been a little shaky as I was working a lot and felt sapped when she wanted to be social with friends, so I often stayed home. I wanted to do something nice for her for Valentine's Day, so I sent her friend a text to her asking if there was something that she may have mentioned she would like to do. As I was waiting on that text, I was in another room. I saw her phone buzz with her friend's name. The number was below the name, and since I had just sent her a text, I knew they didn't match. There are very few times my blood has been that cold and feelings of dread. I called the number with my phone and it rang and rang before going to voicemail. Needless to say, it was the other guy. I confronted her about it and she said she was waiting to leave and had a bag packed in case I found out. She had no intentions of trying to work things out, so a month later she had moved out. I made a decision then that I could be broken up and miserable or that I could choose to be happy and be open to a relationship if it was available. I've since remarried and have 2 beautiful boys with my amazing wife. Regardless of the crappiness and horror in these stories, there is always the opportunity to be happy. If you're reading this thread because it happened to you just from morbid curiosity, choose to be happy. Be the person that you can be proud of and move on to better things. Dropped her off at home, went inside to use the bathroom, found condom in the trash. We hadn't been using condoms for a bit. That one hurt for some time. She claimed it was not used. LOL, what? As bad as I wanted to make a scene and call her everything possible, I just proceeded to leave the place and never look back. Edit. Condom had fluids inside of it. Unless it was a limited edition dildo that also spits out jizz, it was clearly not used on an adult toy. LOL. Story 22. Girlfriend ran over her phone by accident and destroyed the screen. Asked me to back up all her stuff and transfer it to her new Pixel. Used a backup tool that captures all sorts of dirty messages and nudes with another guy. Story 23. Found my wife's notebook. Writing on the first page was a 10-step plan determining how she was going to leave me for another guy. It turned into 1 step. Evidence, people, evidence! I swear, you people want to be caught. Frankly, you deserve to be, but still, it's just frustrating to read. Story 24. I got a new job with a cell phone company. Free phone for me, $15 a month for her. First bill comes in with call detail. She was on the phone an hour a day with this number while supposedly at work. I call, dude answers. I hang up. I ask her, she lies and said it was a gal pal of hers. I told her I know she is lying and call it again. Dude answers. F you, Brooke. After a week visiting friends in London, England, I flew back to Canada. I was supposed to do something with another group of friends when I got back, but plans fell through, so I drove the 4 hours home to the apartment we shared. She expected me home at 6 p.m. I'd been up for 30 straight hours and got home at 6 a.m., wanting nothing more than to fall into bed. There was an extra set of feet attached to some butthole when I walked in. I really want to be on your side, OP. But don't say London, England. It's like saying Washington, D.C., United States. Annoyingly pointless. And before any of you say, what about London, Ontario? What the F about it? Story 26. A friend of mine literally walked in on his wife and another guy doing it on their sofa. I guess he just yelled, what the F? And ran out. Facebook was a real crap show for a few days. And she even had the gall to blame him back, the old, it's your fault I cheated. Luckily there were no children in that marriage and not much money to fight over. I mean, maybe it was his fault, I don't know. Maybe your friend sucks. Story 27. We had a linked Apple account. We both had the Find My iPhone app. Figured out what all the late nights at work really were. Went home and my husband wasn't home, which was weird for him at 8 p.m. when an hour earlier he had told me he was going home. Had a gut feeling, went to one of our female friends who he claimed was like a sister apartment. His truck is there. I knock, no answer. Try the door, it's unlocked. Walk into the living room, nobody there. Hear noises in the bedroom. Walk in and lo and behold, there they are. Tried to make it work over the next couple of months, but I can't get past it. Didn't even want him to touch me. Divorced 4 years ago. Edit. Our female friend. This was a mutual friend who we had both known for years. Went to high school with, etc. Woke up in the night with a bad feeling, got out of bed, and found my brother effing my wife. Long story short, I suspected something for a few months. Like an idiot, I opened her phone while she was asleep and found exactly what I was looking for, like you always do when searching through someone else's phone. Even with all of the texts right there to see, she still lied about it multiple times. She eventually admitted to it but downplayed it heavily. She told me about 2 nights ago that he asked her out on a date and she said I had to say no and was visibly sad about it. In the process of getting a divorce now. Hurts. Story 31. Me and my girlfriend were long distance and she had a habit of going quiet sometimes. She'd been texting me for the last few weeks but had made excuses not to come visit. I went to a party that my friend had organized. I met a friend of his who told me he had a new girlfriend. I was surprised he hadn't mentioned her, so I asked who she was. This lady introduced me to my girlfriend. She told everyone that we broke up and had been dating my friend for about a month. She didn't bother to tell me. Edit. I posted this, went to bed, and didn't expect it to be so popular. I'll try and reply/explain today. Well, hey, at least you got a new fan club out of it. Lose a lover, gain a bunch of random internet commenters. Story 32. Not me, but a close friend had an affair with another close friend and got caught because she lost an earring in the bed. After the entire blowout of a friend group and a lots of shaming on both of them, she says he AR'd her and everyone is stunned and doesn't know what to do. So to prove he didn't abuse her, he had to show his wife and the police home security footage of a woman riding him like a horse while he was handcuffed. So he cheated, then was accused of abuse, and got to top it off by showing his wife his intercourse tape with another woman. Edit. We didn't all instantly start calling the woman a liar. We didn't have time to process a lifelong friend being an arist before it was set straight and she started backpedaling. Please stop personally messaging me that I'm an a-hole and didn't believe her. After a night of trying to keep up with my ex and her coworkers drinking, I call it a night. They stop talking a few minutes later and the dog scratches at the door. I let the dog in and saw them making out on the couch. I watched for 10 minutes before they noticed me. They were taking their clothes off by then and he was touching her favorite spots like he knew them well. No denying it by then. I'm glad I knew. A tense conversation followed with the two of them. He left, very drunk, on a very cold night. She got a ride to her aunt's place and begged me to go look for him in the cold. I'm sorry, you can't just bring up him wandering into the cold at night while drunk, then bring it up again the next sentence and not say anything else. You made drunk in the cold a plot point. Did you find him frozen? Was he secretly Frosty the Snowman? Finish your effing stories, people! Story 34. Using an alt account because, duh. Wife had been texting a lot and was very evasive when I inquired about it, though she smirked when she thought it was making me jealous. Yeah, she's that kind of person. Turns out she'd left her email logged into my cell phone, so I noticed that she had a weekend Airbnb trip to a place that was a state away. We were living in different states at the time. That seemed to be of the quiet romantic getaway type. Total occupancy, 2. Well, I thought that was fairly suspicious. So I monitored her album page, which was easy since we were friends on Airbnb, figuring that the owner might leave a comment about how great she was as a guest, which had turned out she did, except the review went something like, wife's name and guy not named were wonderful guests, and so on. Yeah, so anyone want to guess what the conditional probability is that weekend trip involved infidelity? Pretty sure it's high. Wife apparently panicked, asked Airbnb to remove the review, altered her name on the site, and then finally, having failed to get the review taken down, deleted her account. I eventually asked her about it during a counseling session, and she had ready-made defense about how she'd meant to take the trip with another coworker, but that person's car broke down, so guy's name ended up tagging along since guy's name was that coworker's boyfriend and they all stayed there together. But guy's name signed the guest book, hence a totally honest mistake. In hindsight, I'm pretty sure she was not telling the truth. We are not still married. Story 35. My neighbor is deployed and his wife is getting effed by two dudes at the same time. Not always. Sometimes it's just D-Head 1, but sometimes he brings his homeboy D-Head 2 over to get in the extra miracle affair. I wish I knew the guy that had been cheated on, but I was deployed when he moved in. I came home, then he left a week later. Then D-Head started coming around. Shake my head, people. Shaking my head. Story 36. Threads like these make me never want to date anyone ever again. Story 37. I found out my ex-boyfriend, dated from 15 to 18, had been cheating on me when, upon walking into the apartment he shared with his mother and two elementary-aged sisters, the youngest sister asked me, "When did you leave?" I asked her, "When was I here?" She responded, "You were here all night. I could hear you talking to X's name." I had not been there for 2 days at that point. I asked him what she was talking about, and he blew bubbles for a few minutes before confessing. Good riddance. Edit. Not sure if everyone knows blue bubbles means having nothing to say yet still talking. It may be local slang. Yes, though, I do think the joke is funny. Okay, I get it. It took me a second. Blue bubbles. Story 38. A professor at my college accidentally posted handwritten letters from, or to, his mistress on his class's website today. His wife is also a professor at my college. Wonder how that one was playing out this evening. Yikes. Edit. I will update if possible. One of my friends actually read the letter today since clearly some students saved them and they started circulating. I'll have to ask her about more details. No clue how the mix-up happened, but I really feel for his wife. Not a fun way to find out, and not fun to have it broadcasted on campus either. Edit 2. Texted my friend who read the letters, this is what she said. Yeah, it was crazy. It was about men and women and their relationships with intercourse, and it was pretty stereotypical and psychological. I don't know how to explain it. And there was a flow chart in it basically explaining how to handle him regarding intercourse. Apparently, the letter was cringe city. Edit 3. While a lot of you want to see the letters, I do not have them and wouldn't share the screenshots anyway. Something about that is against my moral compass, but glad you were all entertained as much as I was. I found it funny this question was asked right after I heard about this, so I just had to post. Probably one of the more shocking twists was that this professor is actually quite young, early 30s it looks like. I totally envisioned this being an old dude. Edit 4. So apparently this actually happened May of this year, but the letter had resurfaced yesterday. The professor is no longer at my college and allegedly had a bit of a mental breakdown. I did get to see the flowchart. It was weird. God damn it, I just spent 5 minutes looking for that flowchart to no avail. I want to know what on earth is on an intercourse flowchart. I'm going to have trouble sleeping tonight as I lie there wondering about all the weird possibilities. Story 39. Came home early. They were fast enough to get dressed, but not in a natural state of being, if that makes sense. It was obvious something was just going down. Very cliched, got walked in on and tried to play it cool like you see in TV. I asked him to leave, and he did. We argued, she tried to lie but soon confessed. It wasn't the first time she cheated, but it was the first time that I caught her in the act. Everything in the past was just texts and stuff. She said that she never slept with the other people and it was just pics and flirting. In retrospect, that may not be BS. We divorced, both remarried. Not friends by any stretch, but civil.